The Academy and the Deathworlders. The Galactic Alliance Military Academy hovered like a gleaming jewel in the black void above the neutral planet Solara. A sprawling complex of silver towers and glass domes, it was where the best recruits from dozens of star systems came to learn discipline, tactics, and the art of survival. Inside the zero-gravity training hall, Cadet Alex Rains moved with a fluidity that belied his muscular frame. A human born on Earth, a death world whose harsh conditions had bred resilience and raw power. Alex was a study in quiet intensity. His eyes, sharp and observant, never left his partner, Mara Vega. Mara, also human, darted through the weightless environment with equal grace. Her dark hair floated behind her like a banner, her expression calm yet focused. The two moved as one, weaving through a simulated combat course that tested coordination and reflexes. Around them, alien recruits from species tall and slender, scaled and armored, watched with a mix of curiosity and wariness. "You're pushing harder today," Mara said, voice steady despite the exertion. Alex smirked. "Got to be ready for whatever the Alliance throws at us." In the sidelines, Kazar Tholan stood stiffly, watching. He was a towering figure of the Zeldran species. 4 arms, tough chitin armor plates, and skin the color of dried moss. Low gravity on his homeworld made him physically imposing. But in the Academy's artificial environment, his movements were sluggish compared to the human's lightning reflexes. Kazar's dark eyes narrowed. Typical Deathworlder arrogance, he muttered to himself. The term Deathworlder was common slang among the cadets, referring to humans. The name carried both fear and disdain. Humans had evolved on a planet riddled with dangers, predators, volatile weather, and toxic environments. That environment had shaped them into some of the toughest beings in the galaxy. But many species also saw them as unpredictable, reckless, and difficult to trust. Later, during the communal meal in the Grand Mess Hall, the tension between species was palpable. The long tables were crowded with chattering cadets, many of whom exchanged sidelong glances whenever humans passed by. Kazar sat with a group of Zeldran peers, his gaze fixed on Mara and Alex across the hall. "She thinks she's untouchable," Kazar said quietly, more to himself than to the others. "That girl and her kind walk like they own this place." A fellow cadet, a slender Galaxy named Ren, shrugged. "They're good, no doubt. But so arrogant it's dangerous. Maybe they should be taught a lesson," Kazar said, voice low but resolute. Unbeknownst to him, Drillmaster Vren, an elderly yet stained alien with translucent skin and multiple eyes, overheard the conversation as he passed. He stopped briefly. "Remember this, recruits," Vren said without turning, voice calm but firm. "Respect the Deathworlders, not as a courtesy, but as survival. Underestimating them is a mistake few survive." The room grew quiet, the weight of Vren's words sinking in. That evening, as the Academy settled into the artificial night cycle, Mara and Alex reviewed holographic maps for their next training mission. The two humans worked in near silence, comfortable in each other's presence. Kazar watched from a distance, frustration simmering beneath his composed exterior. The ease with which humans bonded, and the deference many cadets seemed to afford them, felt like an affront to his pride. He resolved that tomorrow, he would confront one of them. He would show the others that humans could be challenged. But no one in the Academy, not even Kazar, knew how much that single moment would change everything. The shoulder incident. The sunlit courtyard of the Galactic Alliance Military Academy buzzed with activity. Cadets from across the galaxy moved between drills, training sessions, and brief moments of respite. The air was charged with tension and ambition, but also the unspoken rivalry between species. Mara Vega sat on a bench near the center, her eyes scanning the glowing holographic map projected before her. Her fingers traced tactical positions with practiced ease. Nearby, Alex Rains meticulously cleaned his pulse rifle, the mechanical sounds of the weapon clicks and slides barely audible over the distant chatter. The humans were in their element, calm, focused, perfectly synchronized. It was a display that drew attention, but also envy. Kazar Tholan approached with slow, deliberate steps. His heavy armor clanked softly against the polished floor. His forearms folded in front of him, but the tension in his broad shoulders betrayed his simmering anger. "You think you're better than everyone here," Kazar said, his voice low and hard as he stopped beside Mara. His dark eyes locked onto hers, filled with disdain. "Hiding behind your human friend, afraid to face real challenge." Mara didn't look up. "I'm not hiding." Kazar's upper right arm reached out and grabbed her forearm, the grip firm and invasive. "You refuse to speak, but your body says otherwise." A hush fell over the nearby cadets. The subtle tension rippled through the courtyard. To many, Kazar's action was a violation, not just of personal space but of unspoken protocol. Touching another's body without consent was strictly forbidden. Before Mara could react, a blur of motion streaked between them. Alexei's hand shot out, gripping Kazar's arm with unyielding strength. With a practiced twist and a sharp, controlled motion, Alex applied pressure to Kazar's shoulder joint. An audible pop echoed through the courtyard. Kazar's face twisted in sudden, sharp pain. He staggered, dropping Mara's arm as he collapsed to one knee. His breathing grew ragged as he clutched at his injured shoulder. The courtyard was silent, save for the shallow gasps of onlookers. Medical personnel arrived within moments, their scanners flashing over Kazar's shoulder. The diagnosis was grim. Severe ligament rupture and joint dislocation, the lead medic reported. Biological healing in this species will never fully restore function. He will have limited range of motion permanently. Mara's eyes flashed with a mixture of shock and defiance. She looked up at Alex, who met her gaze with steady calm. "Did you have to?" she whispered. Alex's voice was quiet but firm. "He grabbed you without permission. That's a threat. I defended you." Kazar, still kneeling, glared upward, hatred burning in his eyes despite the pain. Around the courtyard, whispers began to spread rapidly. "Humans don't just fight back. They break bones. Did you see how fast he moved? Like a predator. This is why we fear Deathworlders." The commandant's voice cut sharply through the murmurs as he approached with a small escort. His expression was grave but composed. "Cadet Rains," he began, "your actions will be reviewed. The Alliance does not tolerate unauthorized violence between recruits. However, self-defense is a recognized right." Alex nodded respectfully. "I understand, sir." The commandant glanced toward Kazar's prone form. "His injury is serious. This incident will echo beyond these walls. You must prepare yourself for political scrutiny." The gravity of the situation settled over Alex. It was more than a fight between two cadets. It was a spark that could ignite interspecies tensions. Later, in the sterile interrogation chamber, Alex sat quietly as senior officers questioned him. His account was clear, measured, leaving no doubt about Kazar's initial aggression. "You acted within regulations," the lead officer concluded. "But be aware, your human resilience and reflexes make you both an asset and a threat in the eyes of many." Alexei's expression hardened. "I'm here to protect my people and my friends." As he was released, the hallways felt colder. Alien cadets passed with guarded looks. Some avoided eye contact altogether. Mara met Alex outside the chamber, her brows knitted with concern. "Do you regret it?" "No," Alex said firmly. "He needed to know we don't tolerate disrespect. But this changes everything." Alex nodded, the weight of his role settling heavier on his shoulders. The message was clear. Humans were no longer just recruits in the academy. They were a force that the galaxy both feared and underestimated at its own peril. Ripples across the academy. The aftermath of the shoulder incident spread through the Galactic Alliance Military Academy like wildfire. The once bustling corridors now hummed with uneasy whispers, sidelong glances, and tightly held grudges. Humans, who had before walked these halls with quiet confidence, now felt the heavy weight of scrutiny pressing down on them. Alex Rains noticed it immediately. Alien cadets who used to nod in passing now crossed to the other side of the corridor. Groups fell silent when humans approached. Mara Vega's usually sharp smile was tinged with worry. Kazar Tholan, for his part, was a shadow of his former self. The injury to his shoulder left him with limited mobility, a permanent reminder of that instant when Alex's grip had snapped the joint. His once proud posture was now marred by a protective arm sling and a limp in his gait. His species delegation had wasted no time. Official complaints had been filed with the Alliance Council, accusing the humans of violent unpredictability, uncontrollable predators, the memorandum read. Rumors swirled that some political factions wanted to limit or even ban humans from the Academy altogether. In the mess hall, the tension was thick. Kazar's Zeldran peers avoided him, unwilling to associate with a cadet now marked by humiliation and injury. Alone at a corner table, Kazar nursed his wounded pride with bitter thoughts. Mara approached him cautiously one afternoon, her expression feigned but not unkind. "You're hurt," she said simply. Kazar looked up, eyes narrowed. "You're human. He could have ended my career, or worse." "Yes," Mara replied, meeting his gaze steadily. "He could have." Kazar's jaw clenched. "But he chose to break me instead." Mara shook her head. "He broke your arm to defend me. There's a difference." Despite the lingering anger, Kazar found himself silently reconsidering what he had thought about humans. Meanwhile, Alex kept his head down, focusing on his training and studies. Yet the whispers followed him everywhere. Other cadets repeated and exaggerated the story, turning it into legend. Some claimed Alex had shattered Kazar's arm with a single finger. Others insisted humans possessed strength beyond natural limits. Drillmaster Vren pulled Alex aside one afternoon, away from prying eyes. "Do you understand what you've become?" Vren asked, voice low but serious. Alex met the elder's gaze. "A warning." "Exactly. You are both a symbol and a threat. The Council fears what it cannot control. They will try to paint you as a danger to peace." Alex's jaw tightened. "I'm not here to be a symbol. I'm here to survive. To protect." Vren nodded slowly. "Then be careful. Not just in combat, but in politics. One wrong step, and the entire human enrollment could be in jeopardy." Back in the dormitory, Mara paced restlessly. The incident had shaken her confidence in the fragile peace among species. "We can't just let this fester," she said one evening to Alex. Alex looked up from his datapad. "Then what do you suggest?" "Show them who we really are. Not just fighters, but soldiers who act with honor. If we let fear control them, the divisions will only grow." Alex nodded slowly. Actions speak louder than words. The following day, the Academy announced an unexpected live combat simulation exercise. Mixed species teams would be tested in a coordinated assault against a swarm of advanced combat drones designed to mimic enemy tactics. Alex and Mara found themselves paired with several alien cadets, including some who had whispered behind their backs, now forced to work alongside them. Kazar's squad was in another group, visibly struggling with his injured shoulder but determined to prove his worth. The simulation began with a sharp tone, the air filled with the hum and flash of drone weaponry. Alex's team moved with precision, weaving through laser fire and outmaneuvering mechanical foes. Mara's sharpshooting covered their advance while Alex's tactics held the group's cohesion. Suddenly, Mara's path was cut off. A sudden collapse of the training ground left her isolated, surrounded by hostile drones converging quickly. Without hesitation, Alex launched himself into the fray. His movements were a blow of lethal efficiency, disabling drones with calculated strikes that spared his teammates. Kazar, pinned down and vulnerable, found himself at the mercy of an incoming drone's attack. Just as the strike was about to land, Alex intercepted it with a fierce counterattack, neutralizing the threat instantly. For a fleeting moment, Kazar's eyes met Alex's. A silent acknowledgement passed between predator and prey. The simulation ended with Alex's team victorious. In the debrief, the commandant addressed all cadets. "Deathworlders are dangerous," he said, voice resonating through the hall. "But they are not our enemies, unless you choose to make them one." Kazar, nursing his permanent injury, murmured to Mara, "You're male. He could have killed me that day." Mara's smile was wry but honest. "Yes, he could have." Alex walked away with a quiet warning in his eyes. A predator among diplomats, respected and feared in equal measure. The test and the message. The Galactic Alliance Military Academy's training grounds were alive with tension and anticipation. News of the earlier incident had rippled far beyond the walls of the Academy, but today, all species were forced to set aside their grudges for a surprise live combat exercise. The Commandant's announcement came just hours before the drill. Mixed species teams would face an onslaught of advanced combat drones simulating a hostile incursion. Success meant proving not just individual skill, but cooperation across species boundaries. Alex Rain stood alongside Mara and their assigned squad. The faces around him were a patchwork of former skeptics, tentative allies, and cautious onlookers. Kazar Tholan's presence in another team was impossible to ignore. The permanent injury to his shoulder was evident beneath his armor, a stark reminder of their recent clash. The simulation began with a harsh alarm and the sudden whir of drones swarming the field. Laser blasts painted the air in red and blue streaks. The team scattered to defensive positions, coordinating through comms. Mara's squad quickly encountered fierce resistance. In the chaos, Mara found herself isolated when a section of the training platform collapsed beneath her feet. Surrounded by hostile drones, her only hope was to hold out until support arrived. Alex saw it immediately on his HUD, Mara's distress beacon flashing red. Without hesitation, he broke from his formation, weaving through laser fire with lethal precision. His movements were almost inhuman, each step calculated to minimize exposure while maximizing impact. He dispatched drones with brutal efficiency. His strikes were clean and deadly, disabling mechanical enemies with targeted blows rather than indiscriminate destruction. Other cadets watched, a mixture of awe and fear in their eyes. Meanwhile, Kazar's squad was pinned down near an exposed flank. One drone, more aggressive than the rest, maneuvered to strike from behind. Kazar, struggling with his injured arm, was vulnerable. At that moment, Alex intercepted the drone's attack, his body moving faster than thought. With a swift strike, he shattered the drone's core, preventing the lethal blow. Kazar barely had time to register the intervention. For a brief, charged second, Kazar and Alex's eyes locked. The unspoken message was clear. Despite pain, anger, and history, Alex had chosen to save him. The exercise ended with Alex's team victorious, their coordination and skill unmatched. The Commandant gathered all the cadets for a debrief. Today's simulation tested more than combat ability, the Commandant declared. It tested trust across species, trust beyond fear. He looked directly at Alex and Mara. Humans come from worlds that forge survival against impossible odds. Their strength is undeniable. But remember this, strength without control breeds destruction. It is discipline and honor that make a warrior worthy. Kazar, sitting quietly with his injured arm resting on the table, murmured to Mara, "You're human. He is a weapon." Mara smiled faintly. "And a shield." Later, as the Academy's lights dimmed for the night cycle, Alex stood alone on the observation deck, gazing out at the swirling stars. A voice broke the silence. Drillmaster Vren stepped beside him. "You have sent a message, Alex. Not just to your fellow cadets, but to the galaxy." Alex nodded slowly. "I don't want to be feared. I want to be respected." Vren smiled faintly. "Fear is easy. Respect is earned. And you earned it today." The stars stretched infinitely before them, a galaxy full of challenges and unknown dangers. But one truth remained certain. Humans were no longer the outsiders or the unknown. They were a force, fierce, loyal, and undeniably powerful. And the galaxy would never forget.